evening. Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Gretchen Hall.
And I'm Sean Yao.
Tonight's big stories. Former President Rodrigo Duterte, who insisted on being called mayor even while in Malacanang, is returning to local politics. He and his son, Sebastian Baste Duterte, filed COCs for mayor and vice mayor of Davao City.
Akbayan is also eyeing a comeback with human rights lawyer attorney Shell Jokno as lead nominee. We'll be speaking to Akbayan Chair Emeritus Senator Risa Hontiveros about the party's plans later on in the program.
And South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is in town for a state visit, during which he announced that the Philippines and South Korea will be upgrading ties to a strategic partnership.
Okay, it's final. Neither father nor son is running for senator. Former President Rodrigo Duterte and his son Sebastian have filed their certificates of candidacy for mayor and vice mayor, respectively.
Well, this ends speculation that the Dutertes will be gunning for national positions. Already, former President Duterte began threatening drug addicts again.
But the other question is, who will the Dutertes go up against in their bailiwick? Brielle Montalvo with a big story tonight.
An hour before the COMELEC office in Davao closed, Rodrigo Duterte made formal his bid to return as city mayor with his partner Hanelet Avancenia. The former president filed his certificate of candidacy true to what he announced over the weekend. Digong said he is only responding to clamor from Davaoeños to reclaim the post he held for more than 2 decades. His vice mayor is incumbent City Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte, who also filed his COC Monday afternoon.
Actually, over the past 2 days, nagkaroon kayo mga changes good, but muna ning final yun ang mga naisip ko. Asa tanaw na mo mayo, komportable ra. So, boto na lang itong pastoryaon. Ana na lang. Nalipay na po ko nga kuhan. Nga kaning mga tauhan na mga taga-Davao, nalipay sila nga balik ang pinalangga na to former president o former mayor diri sa Davao City.
This ends weeks, even months of speculation that the Duterte men want 1 seat each at the upper chamber. Up until last week, the family's ally and re-electionist Senator Bato de la Rosa told One News he was hoping Baste could join the PDP senatorial ticket. Recall too that back in June, Vice President Sara Duterte said that her father and brothers Sebastian and Paulo are all running for senator in the midterm elections. Of the 3, only the former president managed to land a good spot in the recent SWS survey for senatorial preference, coming in at 4th or 5th. But the patriarch said he is no longer interested in a national post.
You think that I can carry a national campaign at my age? Or you want me to die? Magkukulaps lang ako niyan eh. I think that at my age, 73, mukhang hindi ko na kaya. Let us be realistic about it.
But make no mistake about it. He wants to bring back the Duterte brand of leadership, especially when it comes to illegal drugs.
Kung tatakbo ako ng mayor, same. At this early sabihin ko na, lumayo na kayo. Ngayon na. Kung ako ang mamayor, mamamatay talaga kayo. Do not expect na pag mag-enkwentro tayo, bubuhayin kita. Nag-warning na ako sa inyo.
And there will also be no recalibration or taming of the war on drugs with a successful comeback at the Davao City Hall.
I just want a peaceful city. Pag inabutan ko kayo, patayan talaga tayo. Pati yung human rights, sabihin ko na ngayon. Kayong dapat yung human rights, i-contact na nila kung sino itong ulo na to. Kasi mamamatay talaga yan.
If Digong wins in 2025, this will be his 8th term as Davao City Mayor. He held the spot for exactly 22 years and 4 months. He was Vice Mayor and President in between. The question is, who's challenging the Dutertes? It remains to be seen if the Nograleses of Davao will be fielding candidates of the last day of COC filing this Tuesday, October 8. Although there's expectation Congresswoman Margarita Mix Nograles may gun for the mayoralty too. Then there's the third Duterte. Pulong is gunning for re-election as Davao City 1st District Representative. He also filed his COC on Monday through his lawyer Elijah Manuel Pipito. If Pulong wins next year, this will be his third and final term. For News 5, Bril Montalvo, We Are One News.
Well, you know what? There is still one day left to the filing of certificates of candidacy, and anything can happen. Now, just this evening, Carlo Nograles resigned as chair of the Civil Service Commission. He also confirmed he will be seeking public office in his hometown of Davao City, though he didn't specify which position. The Nograles family is a known rival of the Dutertes. In a statement, Carlos said, "This experience has moved me to return to my roots in Davao City, where I hope to bring and apply the lessons I have learned in my tenure as head of the commission, as well as my 2 decades in government." Now, also this evening, we confirm that Cavite Governor John Vic Remulla has withdrawn his COC as re-electionist of the province. This is ahead of an expected appointment as DILG Secretary tomorrow, which his older brother, Justice Secretary Boying Remulla, confirmed to reporters. John Vic Remulla will be replacing Benhur Abalos, who is running for the Senate. John Vic Remulla's running mate, re-electionist Athena Tolentino, has also withdrawn her COC for vice governor. Now, it's not clear if she will be running at all or running for another position.
I think so. He's scheduled to have an oath taking tomorrow morning. In fact, I think he's withdrawing from candidacy as we speak.
Now, that doesn't mean the Remullas are letting go of Cavite. We are also getting word that it will be Justice Secretary Remulla's son, Francisco Gabriel Abeng Remulla, who will run in place of his uncle for Cavite governor. Abeng is currently a provincial board member, although Malacanang has not confirmed that it will be indeed John Vic Remulla taking over from Abalos. Secretary Remulla says his brother's appointment should make coordination easier.
Well, actually, it can improve talaga the justice system because we have a JSEC, a Justice Sector Coordinating Council with the Supreme Court. And the commitments can be made instantly because the two of us can always talk about what has to be done. Mas maganda ang coordination niya. Like minds, tsaka I think that we only want the best for the country. Wala tayong ibang motive dito.
Also seeking to make a comeback is the party list group Akbayan. The progressive group, which just secured a seat in Congress after COMELEC nullified the registration of Anwaray. Human rights lawyer Attorney Chel Diokno is Akbayan's lead nominee, and he filed his certificate of nomination and acceptance at the Manila Hotel Tent City today. He was accompanied by second and third nominees Percy Sandaya and Moro leader Dada Kiram Ismula. Diokno only joined Akbayan last month and had initially planned to make a third run for the Senate. But he told our sister program Storycon that running under the party list system may be a better way to get his foot in the door. That leaves the traditional opposition identified with the Liberal Party, with just 2 senatorial candidates so far, and these are former Senators Kiko Pangilinan and Bam Aquino.
All right, let's hash this out further. Joining us tonight, we are honored to have Akbayan Party Chair Emeritus Senator Riza Ontiveros. Senator Ontiveros, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. We understand you're very busy.
Thanks for inviting me. It's great to be in an all-women's interview, if I may say so.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all about women power here. Senator Ontiveros, a lot of things to discuss, but let's take off from what the last news item, which is Attorney Chel Diokno running under Akbayan for a House seat this time. That was a bit of a surprise because last we spoke to him, he did say that he was going to make a third run for the Senate. And
right.
when we spoke to Akbayan as well, to Rafaela David, she did also say that the goal was to field a senatorial candidate so that you have someone there with you, an ally in the Senate.
Yeah.
How does this change things for you, do you think?
Well, I'll still be helping next year the Senate candidacies of 2 independent candidates who I hope will join me here in the minority in the Senate. magto-term out na kasi yung minority leader ko, si Sen Coco Pimentel next year. So I'll be glad to be multiplied threefold sa halip na maiwan akong mag-isa kung maging at least 3 kami dito sa minorya sa Senado. And though I was honestly sad to see Chel no longer possibly joining us in the Senate next year. Syempre bilang miyembro din ako ng Akbayan, masaya ako na we will also try to take back the House more for the people next year. Yung slate ng Akbayan led by Attorney Chel at yung slate din ng ibang mga allied party lists.
Do you think, Senator Risa, na mas malaki yung chance ng mga progressive groups ngayong elections na ito? Because we also have former Senator Laila De Lima,
Yes.
Teddy Bagilat, Erin Tanyada, all running with Mamamayang Liberal. So, is there something that the traditional opposition is cooking up? Is this a part of the strategy in order to widen the reach of, the so-called genuine opposition?
Well, syempre, particular dito sa upcoming Senate election, although hindi pa conclusive yung mga surveys hanggat final na yung list of candidates, heartened ako kasi sa at least isang recent survey na nakita ko, within striking distance na yung dalawang tutulungan ko para sa Senado next year. And of course, my hopes are high for Akbayan following yung panunumpa ni Rep. Percy Sendanya matapos madeklara ang Akbayan ng COMELEC. My hopes are high na Akbayan will be able to make it again and even bigger next year. Of course, midterm election, so uphill para sa mga hindi administrasyon, para sa mga oposisyon o mga independent. Pero we are in this for the long game, so papunta din kami sa 2028 na palakasin lahat ng mga non-administration, opposition, independent forces. At sana mas marami sa amin ay pwedeng magsama-sama papuntang 2028 and beyond. Kasi magandang isipin na we need more than one election, we need more than one 6-year period para i-institutionalize talaga yung mga reforma at i-internalize nating lahat ng mga Pilipino ang pagbabago pati sa ating culture, specifically our political culture.
Senator Risa, this was actually quite a pragmatic move from Attorney Chel Jokno to run for congressman under a party list. Kayo po ba, is it the party that invited him to run as nominee or was he the one who expressed interest? Ano po yung nangyari doon?
Sa pagkaalam ko, sina Attorney Chel ang lumapit sa Akbayan. I think there were other party lists that had been inviting him earlier. Pero masaya ako na pinili niyang pumasok sa ating Kongreso, sa House of Representatives muna sa pamamagitan ng party list system at kasama yung Akbayan Party. Masaya po ako dyan at proud ako dyan.
Hindi naman po kaila na you also face your own challenges entering the Senate because
yes.
number 13 noong nakaraang eleksyon bago kayo nakapasok. Taking a look at the situation of Bam Aquino and also Kiko Pangilinan, and when you say striking distance, I mean, what kind of work would they have to do? Because I've been seeing the surveys, they are outside the number 15th candidate, which is probably nasa 16 to 20 or 20 to 30 ang kanilang posisyon. Just taking a look at the landscape now, we're seeing a lot of families running again, and we have the traditional opposition that far from the top 12. What kind of work has to be done, realistically?
A lot of hard work. And we've been talking about and preparing for this starting 2 years ago. And they are, gaya ng nabanggit ko kanina, they are within or approaching striking distance. Pero Built kami for this eh. Kahit sa simula, 2 years ago, nagmumukhang dehado, pero kita naman namin dahil sa mga pag-uusap at paghahanda at kahandaang to campaign hard, no, to work hard next year during the campaign. Kita naman natin na ayun, mula sa mas malayo, lumalapit or nasa loob na ng striking distance. We will do the organizing, the communications work, the resource mobilization that it takes to have a decent campaign for these very decent candidates na talagang bring a lot qualitatively to the table para sa ating bayan.
Okay, and you mentioned earlier no na baka nga maiwan kayo as the lone minority senator. Depends no kung ano mangyari sa election, but right now it's too early to tell. What's your plan? What are you thinking now, Senator, as early as now? Kung what if ikaw lang talaga yung maiwan? Posible pa ba na lumaki yung minorya?
Posible, lalo na umaasa talaga ako makapasok yung dalawang tutulungan ko who have served before and served very creditably. Kaya siguro naman sa panahon ngayon na sabi nyo nga ang lalakas ng mga dynasties, siguro naman at umaasa ako sa ating mga kababayan at botante pagdating ng panahon sa susunod na taon, they will look favorably towards these candidates na dati nang nagsilbi ng maayos ng medyo mahabang panahon na standing on their own. Kami magsasama-sama para pagtulungan ito, tulungan sila. And when they make it back to the Senate, makabubuti ito hindi lamang sa minorya, kundi sa buong Senado. At hindi lang sa Senado, palagay ko, sa ating mga kababayan. Lalo na sa panahon ngayon na dami talaga nating hinaharap na hamon. Regardless of who we voted for as president 2 years ago, ang daming umaaray sa magkakaparehong issue. At itong mga kandidato sa susunod na taon na tutulungan ko, tutulungan namin, they have very clear understanding kung ano ang mga problema. At meron din silang mga napakaklaro at konkretong mga proposed alternatives at solusyon na pagtulungan nating lahat ng mga Pilipino na maisagawa.
Sen, is it okay to name the two candidates? Are we talking about former Senators Kiko Pangilinan and Bam Aquino?
You named them earlier. Yes, I think we're talking about them.
Yes,
We are
okay.
talking about them.
Just to set the record
Just to
straight.
quick pahabol, Reg. Apart from the two that we've been talking about since kanina, no, si former Senators Bam and Kiko, meron pa ba po kayong ibang pwedeng bigyan ng suporta or willing bigyan ng suporta o pinaplanuhang bigyan ng suporta or any other coalitions, perhaps independent candidates?
Pangarap ko nga 2 years ago after the 2022 elections na makabuo kami ng full slate, 100 kandidato. Oo. Pero naging fraction yan at ngayon finally once the filing is over tomorrow, magiging 2. Pero hindi ako nalulungkot tungkol dyan dahil nga ang time frame namin ay hindi lang hanggang 2025, kundi hanggang at least 2028. So yung mga for reasons of time or yung timetable ng pagdedesisyon nila or yung ibang mga requirements para mangampanya, yung hindi kakayaning magsama-sama for next year operationally, nagsisimula na rin naman kaming mag-explore na by 2028, mas magsama-sama ng mas maramihan at mas malawak. So there's still time to do that. We'll start modestly next year and then magpapalakas para sa 2028.
Okay, kasama rin po ba doon sa plano na yun itong nga pagtakbo nila former Senator Laila De Lima dito nga po sa party list na mamamayang liberal?
Mamamayang liberal.
Kasama rin po ba yun sa plano? Lining up that slate in the future.
Actually, kinausap ko rin noon si Laila na sumama sa Big Tent Senate Project. Pero, so may iba't ibang desisyon, pero magkakadiwa pa rin kaming lahat, magkakaalyado. And yun na nga, umaasa ako, I'm looking forward na magsama-sama ng mas malakas pa papuntang 2028.
Okay, so you are in it for the long game.
Definitely.
Let's talk about Alice Guo. Sen, you are the chair.
If we have to, another woman.
No, it's so there's so many questions there, but you are the chair of the committee that started it all. This probe on pogos. They're fighting the cases tooth and nail. They've already said they entered a not guilty plea for qualified human trafficking. Sen, what's the update on that? Are you still planning to hold more sessions? And how was the executive session last time?
Oh, the executive session, wala namang earth-shaking pa na nangyari doon. It was just an initial executive session. It may lead to a final one. Depende no, sa tingin ng aming komite how she answers in the next last few hearings. Paragay ko ang naging halaga nung unang executive session na yan ay to break the ice lang. Bagamat yun na nga, meron siyang binanggit isang big fish na in fairness to the committee, we had already mentioned that name a month earlier. Pero at least confirmation about that. May hearing kami ulit bukas ng umaga at 10 a.m. And there we'll try to round up, hopefully finishing answering some more of the remaining hanging questions tungkol sa sino yung mga big fish talaga dito sa Pogo sa Pilipinas. Sino ang mga tumulong kina Guo Huaping tumakas sa Pilipinas weeks ago or months ago. Yeah, a couple of months na. And then some recent burning issues na tingin ko at tingin ng opisina ko importanteng tignan or at least hingian talaga ng urgent attention ng executive din.
Senator JV told us that after that executive session, he felt that si Guo Huaping is not really the mastermind, that she is a pawn in all of this. Is that also the sense you're getting?
Well, during that hearing, sinabi nga ni Guo Huaping, for the first time na I am a victim. Nagulat ako sa paggamit niya nung salitang yon. I don't think she's a victim. I think she's also a major player in this whole Pogo drama in the Philippines. Pero tingin ko, di man siya small fry, at the very least, isa sa mataas siya sa mid-level. Pero tingin ko nga, mayroong big fish. At yun yung gusto naming tukuyin. Therefore, I can't completely share yung sense ni Sen JV, my colleague in the committee, na pawn lamang si Guo Huaping. I think meron siyang mga decisions taken na kanya talaga at buo yung loob niya doon. Kaya nga kami nag-executive session sa kanya di ba? To ask her, sino ba ang mga big fish? Sino ba ang tumulong sa inyong tumakas? So I think she has more responsibility in this than she herself admits so far.
Senator, this has been brought up in the Congress hearings. And I'm sure you've watched it already, the Al Jazeera documentary tagging her as a Chinese spy. Do you think the account of Shi Qi-tiang corroborates with what you've been hearing in the executive session as well as in the past hearings?
That's precisely one of the burning recent issues that I'd like to also address tomorrow. If not completely, at the very least, hingiin talaga yung urgent attention dito, no? Deeper look gobyerno that the executive, which is the commander of our uniformed, including intelligence services, ay dapat timbangin ito. Kasi kung seryoso to, mabigat, no? Mabigat ang implikasyon sa atin. And it's actually not the first time I've heard about it or have spoken about it dahil dun pa lang sa ocular inspection namin sa Bamban Pogo Hub few months ago, nakatanggap na kami ng malaganyang impormasyon about alleged espionage. And hanggang ngayon, we can't lay it aside. Tapos ito nga, boom, no? Itong Al Jazeera report. So I think it bears at least a little looking into.
Still with the Pogos, the president implementing a total ban on Pogos, do you think we will be able to stamp it out completely? Because before the president decided, we were already debating it, na parang baka bumalik lang sila in other ways, in illegal ways. And we've been getting reports actually on the ground that they may be hiding under BPO classification. Are you also getting the same reports? And how do we look into this, that the government is indeed implementing the total ban?
Kasi nga, di ba, Sen, yung nagkaroon na ng raid yung PAOK, all Filipinos registered daw BPO. They're a very recent raid. So to add to the question of Gretchen, ano bang pwede nating ilagay sa batas na I'm sure you're already looking into the legislation since all the hearings have been in aid of legislations. Can we also hear about what's going to come out from your final committee report?
Marami. Kasi this will be the culmination of a 4-year investigation against Pogos. Simula sa Pogo-related prostitution, hanggang Pogo-related illegal recruitment and detention, hanggang yung matagal na Pogo-related pastilla scam, at ngayon itong Pogo-related human trafficking, cyber scamming, money laundering, at saka possible espionage. Marami-raming findings kaming ilalabas sa committee report at recommendations, some of which thankfully sinimulan nang gamitin at aksyonan ng executive at constitutional bodies even while our investigation, our hearings have still been ongoing. And yes, we've also been receiving reports na yung ibang mga Pogo naga-underground na lang o kaya sumisilong sa ilalim ng ibang mga kumpanya. This is something that the Senate will exercise very strong oversight over. Kasi talagang sinelebra namin yung anunsyong pag-ban ng Pogos ng State of the Nation Address, pati yung utos na mag-wind down ng operations nito until December 31 this year. At kasing importante, yung paghahanap ng mga alternatibong trabaho at hanap buhay, what the labor movement calls a just transition, para sa mga Pilipinong naging empleyado ng Pogo. At pagtulong din sa ibang mga, lalo na human trafficking victim survivors mula sa ibang bansa na makauwi at hari nawa makatanggap ng suporta sa kanilang mga gobyerno, maghanap ng ibang trabaho at hanap buhay. In the interim, there's been a bill deliberated here at the Senate banning Pogos. In-interpellate ko at nag-introduce ng amendments para mabantayan na walang, as in walang, ma-accept ni yung mga pre-Pogo, Pogo-like entities na nabigyan halimbawa ng mga lisensya noon ng mga ang tawag nito yung mga special economic zone administrations tulad ng CEZA at iba pa. Binabantayan din namin na yung mga post-Pogo na Pogo-like entities tulad ng IGL na sinabi din ng PAGCOR Chair Tenco ay IGL, Pogo, pareho lang yan na hindi yan pwedeng ma-exempt sa ban on Pogos. So yan yung mga gagawin pa namin bukod sa remedial legislation nga na natukoy namin during the hearings. Really tighten, close the gaps in our institutions and processes tulad ng birth certificates, lalo na yung filing ng late registration of live birth, yung mga gaps sa ating border protection, sa immigration, yung gaps sa ating law enforcement and even intelligence. As we saw kung bakit nakatakas si Guo Huaping noon tapos naaresto na lamang ulit ng mga law enforcement agencies pa ng ibang bansa sa rehiyon natin. So a lot of things will still be done in these months leading to December 31 and beyond para hindi talaga makaporma ulit ang POGOs dito sa atin.
Speaking of that, just very quickly, Senrisa, in fact, apparently Guo Huaping is filing her COC tomorrow for re-election in Bamban.
Can you believe it?
Her lawyer.
Wow.
I know, we've interviewed Attorney Stephen David and he's insisted it's her right, it's her every right since the Ombudsman has not decided on the case. Although, of course, COMELEC has ways around it. But for now, all they can do is accept the COC, right? What did you make of it when you first heard it?
Well, I already heard that word ministerial from COMELEC before. Nung una namin silang tinanong sa hearing, bakit nakalusot ang isang hindi Pilipinong citizen nung tumakbo siyang mayor noon? And sabi nga ministerial. I hear it again now, although may slightly different message naman from the COMELEC from Chair Garcia. Gayon din sa Solicitor General, may sinabi sila dahil sila rin yung kumilos na kanselahin yung irregular birth certificate ni Guo Huaping. And recently, di ba, kinansela din yung passport niya. Before that, nakwawaranto siya bilang mayor. I mean, if you have someone, she still has a few hours to change her mind. Wow. Pero if you have someone who will file her certificate of candidacy, putting in the line beside citizen Filipino, sabi nga namin, she will be committing an act of material misrepresentation. That will be perjury. Madadagdagan yung mga kaso laban sa kanya. I hope that the COMELEC tomorrow will be proactive about this. The Solgen said, ang tawag nito, pwedeng, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, pwedeng i-deny yung kanyang pagtakbo unless a court orders otherwise. And then I would appeal to our courts. Why would they, no? Why would they object to her not being allowed to file her COC or not being allowed to run again as a Filipino citizen as a candidate. So ano talaga, sana po ay pakinggan or pansinin ng ating mga executive and constitutional bodies yung nakaraang mga buwan ng mga pagdinig laban sa POGO, particular dito kay Guo Huaping. And hopefully do right by our citizens and voters tomorrow.
Well, indeed, we will have to let you go because you have a big hearing coming up tomorrow, but we hope to have you on another time to talk about other issues. Sure. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you very much.
We'll be tuning into the hearing tomorrow as well. Senator Risa Hontiveros.
Well, up next, more families are joining the local races next year, it seems. Taguig, Marikina, Parañaque are just some of the cities whose candidates filed their papers today. The roundup when we return. So watching Big Story here on One News.
Well, there are plenty more candidates who filed COCs today, the second to the last day of filing. Aria Fernandez has the roundup for us.
This morning, former Senator Gringo Honasan was among the first on day 7 to file his certificate of candidacy for senator. This will be his third attempt for the Senate after he lost his re-election bid last year.
I represent a newly formed party, Reform PH, People's Party. We have been fighting for economic reforms, land reform, electoral reforms, social reforms, and even reforms in our spiritual lives. So that's the reason why I have decided to ask for another mandate.
Former Senator Manny Pacquiao is also planning a return to the Senate, running as part of President Bongbong Marcos's Senate slate. In the 2022 elections, when he was gunning for the presidency, Pacquiao warned against voting for a thief. But he now denies that his statements were directed at Marcos over the issue of ill-gotten wealth. Pacquiao even defended the regime of the late President Ferdinand Marcos Sr.
Hindi naman po nag-criticize ako ng todo sa ating Pangulo. Ang tinanong lang ako ng media noon na about sa korupsyon. Sabi ko, kung may ninakaw, dapat ibalik. Kung may ninakaw, ay ang konstitusyon natin, ang gobyerno natin kailangan ng due process. Imulat natin. Lagi nating sinisisi ang pamilya Marcos pagdating sa korupsyon. Hindi ba natin nakikita na sa panahon ng Marcos, ang bansa natin number 1 sa ekonomiya? May kurap pang bansa na number 1 sa ekonomiya. Sige.
Meanwhile, Senator Bong Revilla, another candidate of the administration, did not entertain questions from the media. Instead, in his post-filing speech, Revilla highlighted his accomplishments in the Senate despite being labeled as Mr. Budots.
While many joined us, some dismissed us as Mr. Budots. Gayunpaman, mapalad po tayong nahalal nun. We filed a total of 1,979 bills and resolutions, with 339 of those that have been enacted into law. While we have accomplished so much, work never ceases, and there is still much to be done.
Ben-Hur Abalos has also expressed his readiness to serve in the Senate after his stint as the ILG chief for the past 3 years.
Kanya-kanya pong kapalaran yan eh. Ano po? Ang importante lang sa akin sa lahat na nagampanan ko, magmula mayor, magmula congressman, magmula nung COVID time. Ako po ang chairman ng MMDA. Napakahirap dahil kalaban mo nung COVID. Ngayon DILG. Siguro ang importante sa kwento ay maganda yung ending. Iiwan ko ang isang departamento na very cohesive, very united.
In the opposition, Bam Aquino has also submitted his COC for senator alongside Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong, who began a movement on good governance. If he becomes a senator again, Aquino believes that having a Marcos as president will not be a hindrance for him despite the well-known political rivalry between their families. Aquino is also confident about their upcoming campaign despite his low ranking in the surveys.
And sabi ko nga, alalahanin lang natin ang lahat ng mga lumabas, tumaya, nagkaboses, tumulong, nag-house to house, nag-abono in the last campaign at more than enough na po yan para may panalo kami ni Senator Kiko.
Retired Colonel Ariel Curubin was also accompanied by Magalong in filing his COC for senator. The Medal of Valor awardee will attempt to secure a seat in the Senate for the second time, carrying the promise to fight for our territorial rights in the West Philippine Sea. Former Ilocos Sur Governor Chavit Singson is also eyeing a seat in the upper chamber, promising to hand out debit and credit cards to every adult Filipino and to use his own money to finance the production of thousands of e-jeepneys. Also today, over a dozen party lists filed their certificates of nomination and acceptance or CONAs. Among those is actress Nora Honor, who will be the second nominee of the People's Champ party list. Former COMELEC Commissioner Goyo Larrazabal will stand as the first nominee for the party Bagong Pilipino. They will focus on rural development and reforming election laws. Former Sarangani Vice Governor Jinky Pacquiao is herself aiming for a seat in the House of Representatives. She is the second nominee of the Maharlikang Pilipino sa Bagong Lipunan or MPBL party list. MPBL's first nominee, Ron Munsayak, filed the CONA of the party list earlier today. Meanwhile, another sibling in the Tulfo family, former Tourism Secretary Wanda Teo, will also attempt to enter Congress as a nominee for the Turismo party list. They are just a few among the over 100 party lists that have filed their CONA since October 1 and will compete for 20% or 63 seats in the House of Representatives reserved for party list groups. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
Plenty of action in local politics today too. Let's do a quick roundup. In Taguig City, incumbent Mayor Lani Cayetano filed her certificate of candidacy for re-election. She was accompanied by her spouse, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, and councilors under what they're calling Team TLC or Team Lani Cayetano, some of which are under the Embu barangays which now fall under Taguig.
We made sure na magkakaroon talaga ng representation sa konseho ang ating mga kababayan mula sa Embo sa pamamagitan ng by God's grace, di ba, God willing, ay 4 na bagong konsehal mula sa Embo Barangay.
Over in Marikina, the Teodoros are looking to swap positions. First District Representative Maan Teodoro filed her candidacy for mayor today, replacing her husband, incumbent Marikina Mayor Marcy Teodoro, who filed his candidacy last Saturday to run for First District Representative of Marikina. Challenging them for those seats are old rivals, the Kimbos. Former House Deputy Speaker Miro Kimbo has filed the COC for Marikina 2nd District Representative, taking over the seat from his wife, current Representative Stella Kimbo. For her part, Congresswoman Stella will file her papers tomorrow to run for mayor of Marikina. Over on the other side of town, the upcoming mayoral race in Parañaque will feature a showdown between Olivares candidates. Eileen Claire Olivares, the wife of incumbent Parañaque Mayor Eric Olivares, filed her candidacy this morning. She will be up against her brother-in-law, incumbent Parañaque 1st District Representative Edwin Olivares, who also submitted his COC for Parañaque Mayor today. In Pasig, incumbent Mayor Vico Soto has also filed his candidacy for his 3rd and final term as the city's mayor. Alongside him will be fellow re-electionist Vice Mayor Dodot Jaworski. Both Soto and Jaworski will be running as independent candidates. Outside of the metro, former broadcaster and Congresswoman Sol Aragones has filed her COC for Laguna Governor. This will be Aragones' 2nd attempt at the gubernatorial race. Aragones will be up against Vice Governor Karen Agapay, who also filed her COC earlier today. Over in San Fernando, Pampanga, another Pineda is set to enter politics. That's after former Lubao Mayor Maylene Pineda Cayabyab filed her candidacy for mayor in the town. Earlier in April, Pineda Cayabyab transferred her voter registration from Lubao to San Fernando. She is daughter of incumbent Vice Governor Lilia Pineda and Pampanga political kingmaker Bong Pineda. Her siblings are Pampanga Governor Delta Pineda and incumbent Lubao Mayor Esme Pineda. Pineda Cayabyab will face TikTok sensation and incumbent San Fernando Mayor Vilma Calua.
Okay, let's take a quick break from politics, at least for just a bit. The Philippines and South Korea have agreed to elevate ties to a strategic partnership, which means deeper defense cooperation. And this was announced by President Marcos and South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, who is in town for a state visit.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol was welcomed to Malacanang by President Bongbong Marcos today for a state visit. The two had a bilateral meeting today at a state luncheon, after which it was announced that the Philippines and South Korea have formally elevated ties to a strategic partnership.
Our decades of cordial relations have developed into a comprehensive partnership that spans political, defense, economic, socio-cultural, maritime, and many other fields across various levels of engagement. And today, I am pleased to announce that the Philippines and the Republic of Korea have formally elevated our relations to a strategic partnership.
That means deeper cooperation between the two on a range of issues, with Seoul committing to participate in the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines.
We agreed to enhance our cooperation in the defense industry. In particular, Korea will actively take part in the Re-Horizon 3 phase of the modernization of the AFP.
As part of the Horizon 3, the AFP has been looking to buy advanced assets such as fighter jets, submarines, and missile systems to beef up territorial defense and maritime security. South Korea has previously sold F-A-50 fighter jets, corvettes, and frigates to the Philippines. It's aiming to become the world's 4th largest arms exporter. Yoon and Marcos also agreed to boost defense cooperation, growing security challenges in the region.
As a geopolitical environment is only becoming more complex, we must work together to achieve prosperity for our peoples and to promote a rules-based order governed by international law, including the 1982 UNCLOS and the binding 2016 arbitral award.
Aside from defense partnerships, the two presidents also signed 7 agreements that include infrastructure and energy projects. These include a $1.9 billion low-interest loan to fund the Samar Coastal Road 2 project, the Laguna Lakeshore Road Network Project Phase 1, and the Panay Guimaras Negros Island Bridges project. More interestingly, the two signed an MOU for a feasibility study to revive the Bataan nuclear power plant. The nuclear plant is a project of the president's father, but has been mothballed since 1986.
Our decades of cordial relations have developed into a comprehensive partnership that spans political, defense, economic, social-cultural, maritime, and many other fields across various levels of engagement. And today, I am pleased to announce that the Philippines and the Republic of Korea have formally elevated our relations to a strategic partnership.
Yoon's visit to the Philippines is the first by a South Korean leader since 2011. His stop is part of a tour of Southeast Asia before Yoon heads off to Laos this week for the ASEAN Summit. For News 5, Maricel Halili, Pier 1 News.
Maybe that's pretty good news. South Korea and Philippines elevating ties to a strategic partnership that formalizes things, and also very encouraging the fact that they want to participate in the modernization of the AFP. We certainly need the money and the expertise.
They also signed a bunch of MOUs and loan deals today. I think Korea has said that they will lend us money to finish the Samar Coastal Road. There's still a bunch of bridges in the Visayas and Panay, Guimaras, Negros, the connecting bridges there.
But also the nuclear power plant, right? Bataan nuclear power plant, feasibility study. I know nuclear power has a very bad rap in this country for historical reasons, but actually I have spoken to energy experts about this, and there is a potential it could be the answer to phasing out coal. Because remember, we can't phase out coal because there's no base load, right? Renewable energy is just not there yet.
It's a PR issue.
It could be an answer. I'm not saying it is, but it could be an answer. But anyways, coming back to local politics.
What did you want to say?
I just wanted to say ang daming
nag-file.
People with the same last names in the filing.
Well,
when she was reading it.
Substitution can't happen this time around the way that Congressman Erwin Tulfo got to be party list representative, right? So bawal na yon, sabi ni COMELEC Chair George Garcia. So ibig sabihin, bukas
there could be substitutions
tomorrow. There could be tomorrow, but that's it. That's the final day.
Yeah.
After October 8th.
After that, wala nang gulatan.
Wala nang gulatan.
So the question is,
noon, di ba? Parang may mga subs
former President Duterte, that was his trick, right?
That was his trick.
The question tomorrow is, will he pull a substitution, right? Considering there's pressure for him within the party to run for the Senate para may representative in the upper chamber.
Do you think he would?
Well, there's one thing that I know for sure. We'll find out tomorrow.
We'll also find out tomorrow if Carlo Nograles is running for mayor of Davao City. It could be. He could be
gunning for the first district.
The other name that being thrown around is Minx.
Si Congresswoman Minx Nograles,
who hasn't filed her COC yet.
Neither of the Nograles siblings have filed
yet. So mukhang bukas nating aabangan yan.
So we'll find out for sure. But yun nga, it's as COMELEC Chair George Garcia said, no more substitutions after this. Tomorrow, with finality, we will know who is gunning for what positions. But yun nga.
But getting the family name straight, we now have to, like when we're delivering the news,
a Venn diagram at the back on the wall. Like, how are they all linked and related?
Clan.
Yes,
Tapos
because
sino yung mga anak
a lot
nila.
of them are not just are related by marriage.
But you know what's funny? Because
you also just can't say Secretary Remulla. You have to be like, which secretary?
That's correct.
Exactly.
Pero ngayon kasi yung mga families na yan, I mean, for one election, they're allies, and another, you see them fighting against each other.
Some of them.
Or some of them internally within the same family.
Right.
Well, that's already something not new in 2024.
There's going to be showdowns in some of these local cities.
Nagugulat ako kasi marami na akong kaidaran na tumatakbo rin.
Ganun talaga. Rite of passage yan. Pero wait,
so
ito.
Anak-anak.
Before we go, here's our big picture for tonight. And it is children getting shots or vaccines against life-threatening preventable diseases. This is a part of the DepEd and DOH's revival of the school-based immunization program called Bakuna Eskwela. The Bakuna Eskwela campaign will be rolled out in selected public schools across various provinces from October to November after a 4-year suspension due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The vaccines available are for measles, rubella, tetanus, diphtheria, and human papillomavirus, or HPV. A reminder that the HPV vaccine does protect against cervical cancer.
Good to have that reminder, because after the pandemic, it's been a challenge for the Department of Health to get people to trust vaccinations again.
On one hand that, and on the other hand, the catch-up. The people who do want to get vaccines did not.
The Nobel Prize in Physiology was awarded tonight, went to the people who founded microRNA, which formed the basis of some of these vaccines.
mRNA, the Pfizer and the, what's the other one? Moderna vaccines. On that note, a big day tomorrow, last day of filing, and a Senate hearing at 10 a.m. as reminded to us by Senator Ontiveros. But for tonight, that's it from the three of us here at The Big Story.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.